So I'm spreading my ice and she clapping and she finna rake up.
What's going on, guys? So this is going to be the first episode of color grading on Caffeine, and the caffeine product that I was drinking when I color graded this music video was from Dunkin' Donuts, and it was a large iced caramel latte with almond milk. So that is what the caffeine product of choice I was drinking for this music video. Now this is going to be showing how I colored a most recent music video titled Paper that a lot of you were requesting that I do make a video on. You can check out the official music video and the behind the scenes breakdown for this music video by clicking the I in the right hand corner or clicking the links in the description down below, which I will leave the video links in the description down below if you want to click on it. Real quick, let's check out some of the before and afters before we jump into Resolve, where I do a majority of my color correction and grading. For this color grading tutorial, I'll be showing how I colored each main scene. I'm not going to go through every clip in the timeline that was a part of the actual music video. Once you color grade a main scene, you can actually just copy and paste the grades to the same clips to save time, the same way that you would in Premiere Pro or any other editing software. Davinci Resolve is no different, so you can copy and paste the color grades to different clips on your actual timeline. Just so for this tutorial and for time saving purposes, I'm just going to be coloring each main scene and then moving on to the next scene. Now real quick, I did shoot this music video on the GH5 and all the scenes were recorded in Vlog. It didn't matter if it was for performance or B-roll scenes, they were all recorded in the Vlog setup. The workflow I did use for exposing and coloring in post was for the GH Alex LUT, and you can check out the video that I did make showing what this LUT is and how to best utilize it for your GH5. I will leave a link in the description where you can go check out that video. Real quick, let's go ahead and hop into the first clip, which was the first scene with the first artist. So the first step I'm going to go ahead and do is clear these nodes out and start from scratch. Go ahead and highlight all of them and then hit delete. Let's set up and create the node-based template that all of these clips will be using. Let's go ahead and create the first node by doing Option S. So for this first node, this is going to be noise reduction. And then we're going to create another node, which will be our white balance. And then we're going to make two more nodes. Option S, and this will be conversion 1 of the GH Alex LUT, and then this will be the conversion 2 of the GH Alex LUT. I'm gonna go ahead and highlight all of these and move them over. We're gonna create another node after the conversion 2, and then this is gonna be our actual luminance. So the next step from here you need to do is you actually need to hit Alt L, and this will create your channel mixer node for the luminance. And we're gonna right click this at the top and label this Lum or luminance. And the key thing here you need to do is this channel mixer right here, you have to right click and go to composite mode, and you want to change this to hue. Directly after this channel mixer, we're going to create 3 more nodes. So Option S, Option S, Option S. And these 3 extra nodes, this one will be for any extra color correction, luminance, anything we need to do after all of these have been done and gone through. This next node after correction will be for the skin tones, and label this skin. And then this last node will be the sharpening. So now that we have the base template node set up, we can actually apply this base node template to the rest of the clips on the timeline, which is going to be our starting point for each clip. To do this, we'll actually use our first clip right here, and we will create a still image by right clicking and doing grab still. And this will be in your gallery, and you can go ahead and find this actual still right here that will have the base node template. Let's go ahead and right click this still, change label, and label this base node temp. And then from here, all you have to do is go over to all of the clips on your actual timeline. Make sure you have all of the clips on your timeline selected. And then all you have to do is right click this base node template and do apply grade. And now what it will do is it will literally put a base node template on every single clip that we do have in our timeline, because we did select all of those clips and choose to put the base node template from our gallery and still. So now we have a starting point for every single clip in this timeline for this music video that we're going to be showcasing for the color grading. So let's go ahead and hop into the first clip, which is with the first artist and the first location. So for the first clip, the first thing we're going to be doing is the noise reduction. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the noise reduction node, and I'm going to come down here to the motion effects, and I'm going to change the frame to 1. I'm going to leave the type at faster, and I'm going to leave the motion range at medium. I'm going to come down to the temporary threshold, and I'm going to change the luma and the chroma to 7. Let me go ahead and change that back to 5. And I'm going to change the motion to 10.7. I'm going to leave the blend at 0. I'm going to leave the mode at faster and the radius at small. I'm going to unselect this paperclip, and I'm going to change the spatial threshold luma. I'm going to change this to 0 and change the chroma to 7 and leave the blend on 0. And then the motion blur, everything on the motion blur line, I'm going to leave everything the same. All right, so moving on from noise reduction to white balance, I'm going to go ahead and go to the white balance node, and I'm going to come down to the color wheels and select the eyedropper tool, and I'm going to select a place in the image that's white. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the shirt and click on the shirt, and that's going to set the white balance for this image. For conversion 1, I'm going to go over to the conversion 1 node and right click and go to LUTs, go to my 3D LUT and look for my color conversions, and I'm going to go to 65x. This is where the GH Daylight LUT comes into play, and I'm going to select the GH Daylight log C. And then this is creating a flat log C conversion, where we're going to now in the conversion 2, we're going to put an ARRI Alexa LUT conversion. And you can find these on the internet. So I'll leave a link where I actually use this ARRI Alexa conversion LUT to go hand in hand with the GH Alex LUT. So I'm going to go ahead and right click this, go to LUTs again, go to 3D LUT. And here we have the Alexa wide gamut. And I'm going to select log C to Rec 709. Alexa V3, and that is going to set the initial grade for our actual clip. From here, I'm going to move over to luminance, and make sure when you go to luminance, you select the top node, not the one below it. And I'm going to make sure the top node is selected. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to come over to the curves, and make sure you have your scopes on waveform. And from here, what we're going to do is go back to our curves, and we're going to make sure our curves is on the actual first one, which is our curves. Make sure the Y is selected, not RGB. Just make sure the Y is selected for your luminance. And I'm going to raise the highlights up just a tiny bit till it gets to about that 640 line. I'm going to raise the mids up just a tiny bit as well. And I'm good with that. Now moving on from here, we're going to go over to correction. So with the correction, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my actual color wheels, and I'm going to go to log, and I'm going to actually bring up my mids just a little bit more. And I'm going to bring my highlights down. Let's see the before and after real quick. Before, after, before, after. Okay, I'm happy with this so far. So let's go ahead and move on from the correction to the skin node. So from here, once you have the skin node selected, you're going to go over to the qualifier tool, and you're going to select this one right here. And then you're going to pick a point that you want to have the skin. Go ahead and select that. And then from here, what we're going to go over and do is click the window, and we're going to create a circle power mask. And we want to go ahead and lower this down. And then we can go ahead and select this magic wand to just mask out his actual skin. And we can go over and go to our scopes and go to the vector scope and see where our actual, and we can actually see where our skin tones are coming up. Let's go back over to our color wheels and go to log and go to our offset. And let's just bring this, it's a little bit too red right now. Let's go ahead and bring this to the left a little bit and leave it right about there. Let's go ahead and deselect the magic wand and go back to our power window and deselect our power window. And it's just a subtle skin tone adjustment. And the last thing we're gonna do for this specific clip is we're gonna go over to sharpen. So let's go to our sharpen node, select sharpen, and we're gonna come down to the blur and come down to radius. And to sharpen it, you would go down, or to add blur, you would go up. So I wanna go down a tiny bit. You don't have to do much. If you do too much, you're gonna have a unrealistic sharpening look. So I'll usually either go down 1 or 2. So I'm gonna put this at about a 48 and leave that there. And then this is gonna be everything that I did to color this specific scene. So this is the after, and then this is going to be the before, after, before, after. Now the great thing is now that I've actually colored this specific clip, what I can do is save this one by right clicking and doing grab still. And I can go ahead and right click this and change the label and change this to color grade artist 1. And because now we have different scenes, for example, this was a close-up as opposed to the whole shot, we can now come over to this shot and then right click and apply grade. And because it's in the same scene, in the same setup, the only thing that's changed is we've changed the positioning of the camera. The lighting is still set up the same. We can now add this to the different clip than what we just color graded, and it'll still give the same look. All right, let's put it on this second clip. Go ahead and right click, apply grade, and let's look at the before, after, before, after. Now let's move on to the next clip, which was the model B-roll scene. Now this was going to be a little bit different when it comes to the models as opposed to the artists. With the models, I added a couple extra nodes, and that was making their skin smoother, adding the beauty effect that you would think that you would use in Photoshop when you're taking photos of people. You can actually do the same thing with video inside of DaVinci Resolve and give the beauty look where it smoothens out the skin and gets rid of wrinkles. So let's go ahead and go into that clip. So again, we already have our base node template set up, so let's go ahead and go through this whole process again. Let's go to noise reduction and go over to our motion effects, turn this to 1 and put this at 5 and put this at 10.7 and turn this off and put this at 7. And let's move over to the white balance and set our white balance. Go ahead and get the eyedropper tool and click on her shirt. And let's go ahead and put the conversion LUTs for the GH Alex. Go to color conversions and 65x, log C. And then we're going to add our ARRI Alexa LUT, ARRI Alexa V3 log C to Rec 709. Now after putting the GH Alex LUT log C and then putting the actual ARRI Alexa log C to Rec 709 LUT, let's go ahead and go over to luminance node and let's bring the blacks down a tiny bit. I know it's actually hovering on the line that you set up for the GH Alex, but I want to bring it down a little bit more because it's giving me that fade look right now, and I want to have a little bit more darks in the shadows and blacks. So let's go ahead and bring the line here down on the blacks and shadows. Yeah, I like that a lot better. Let's go ahead and bring the mids up, and let's go ahead and bring the highlights up. Yeah, I like that a lot better. And let's go over to the correction node now. Don't see anything I actually need to do over here, so I'm going to leave this correction node blank. I'm going to go over to the skin node. We're going to go ahead and get her skin set, make sure it's correct. Let's back out a little bit, it's too close in. Let's go ahead and go to our qualifier and select her skin. And let's hit the magic wand. And let's feather out some more of her skin. Okay, let's go over to our power mask and create a new circle. Let's turn that wand off so we can actually set our actual power mask. Okay, let's go ahead and turn the magic wand on and go to our vector scope. I'm gonna go ahead and bring this up so you can actually see it better. And it is basically on the actual skin tone line. Let me take it over to the right just a tiny bit. Right about, no, that's too far. Let's take it to the left, right about there. Not too much. Let's go ahead and X out of this, turn the magic wand off, and turn the power node off. Okay, so now that we have our skin tones correctly set and made sure that it's adjusted correctly, the 2 steps extra that I did for the models was I add the beauty effect and the face shapener. So after the skin node, what you want to do is create another node directly after the skin node. So I'm going to create 2 nodes, excuse me, 1, 2. And the first one is going to be the face refine. So we're going to go ahead and right click this and label this face refine. And the second node is going to be the beauty effect, the effect that you would use in Photoshop when you want the skin smoothing and the wrinkles and everything to disappear, but not giving it too much of a blurry effect or like a dreamy effect. So let's go ahead and right click this and label this beauty. All right, so for face refine, what you want to do is click on the node and we're going to go to open effects and we're going to come down until we see the refine, and we're going to do face refine. We're going to drag this over to the face refine node, drop it in, and from here I leave it on automatic, show overlay. I do analyze and I change the amount to 0.300, and I'll analyze the clip and it will begin analyzing the face in the shot. So now that the face refine is done, I actually want to bring the saturation on this background down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is go over to the curves and go to hue saturation, and I'm going to select all the points real quick, and I'm going to bring down the saturation on this right here. And now from here what I'm going to do is add the beauty effect. So I'm going to go over to the beauty node and I'm going to zoom in so you can actually see her face and what this effect does. And again, I'm going to go over to open effects and we're going to use beauty now instead of face refinement, and we're going to drop the beauty effect onto the beauty node. And then I do the amount, I do 0.300, I leave it on automatic, and I leave the scale at 500. So this is a subtle difference. You don't want to go too high up because it'll give that dreamy washed out look that you don't want on the model's face. Same way in Photoshop, if you did it too much, it wouldn't look realistic. So it just gives it a little bit of face smoothing, and the beauty effect, you don't, like I said, you don't want to go too much. So this is what I did for all of the model shots, and it did work better in some shots than others. So the last thing we need to do here is go over to the sharpening node, and we're going to go over to our blur, and we're going to bring this down from 50 to 48, and let's zoom back out. Let's bring our gallery back and zoom back out, and let's look at the after. This is the after, and then this is the before. Before, after, before, after. So when it came to the models, the extra 2 nodes is what I had to do as far as the face refine and the beauty. Those were the 2 extra node steps that I did use for any model shot. So obviously it made their skin look better as well as refining their face. So this is the extra 2 steps that I did use for the model shots. Anything with the artist or anything like that, I didn't use the face refine or beauty effect. It wouldn't have looked right. I didn't want to put this on male artists. So this was only used for all of the model shots, and you will see that as we go on for the next shots that we're going to be color grading with models. So let's go ahead and move into our next location, which was the kitchen scene where we had everybody partying. All right, so moving on to the next scene, we're going to go into the kitchen scene. Again, we have the base node template set up, so let's go ahead and go over to noise reduction. Again, we're going to go to our motion effects. Let's briefly run through this real quick. All right, let's go ahead and set our white balance point. And let's add our conversion LUT now. And let's go over to our Lumina and let's check our scopes. Let's go ahead and go to waveform. Let's go to our curves and go to the first node. Make sure Y is only selected. Let's bring down the blacks just a tiny bit. And let's go ahead and bring up our mids there, and let's bring up our highlights and bring down the mids just a tiny bit more. Scroll through real quick to a different part of this clip. All right, let's go ahead and go over to our correction. Don't really want to change anything as far as what we have so far. Let's go over to the skin node. Now that we're on the skin node, let's go ahead and select the skin and get the skin, everything right with the skin tones. Let's go ahead and get the qualifier and hit the magic wand. Let's feather it out. And let's go ahead and get our power window. Turn this off so we can actually set it right. And now let's turn the magic wand back on. And let's go to our vector scope. And let's set the skin tones now. So as you can see from the skin tone graph, it's actually to the left a little bit. So we want to bring this over to the right. So we want to go over to our color wheels and go to log, offset, and let's bring this to the right until right about there. Nope, to the right a little bit more. And let's check that real quick. Go ahead and X out of this, turn the magic wand off, and let's turn this power window off. Much better. You can see the skin tones right here were a little bit too yellow, and now we've corrected them. Let's go ahead and check the vector scope one more time. Turn our power window back on, turn our magic wand on, and I'm happy with that. So let's go ahead and turn this off and turn the power window off so it does it to the whole skin. And let's go ahead and add our two nodes for the face refine and the beauty. And again, let's right click and rename these. And let's go back and add the face refine. For this, I'm going to go ahead and, because it takes so much time to add the face refine and beauty, I'm going to allow these to go through the process, and I'll check back in with you all once this has been done so you can see the before and after. All right guys, so now that the face refine and the beauty effect has been added, I'm going to go ahead and zoom into this so you can actually see the effect. Zoom back out a little bit. And let's deselect this so you can see the beauty on and off, and that's off. And you can see the little pimples and a little bit of the ridge lines and certain things in the face that we want to get rid of or bring down a little bit. So let's turn this back on, and it just smoothed it out a little bit. It's not a huge difference, but it is a subtle enough difference for you to be able to see the before and after. So the last thing we're going to do is just go back over to the sharpen, and we're going to add the sharpen, and we're going to go down to 48. So guys, this is going to be the after, and this is the before, after, before, after. So guys, let's go over another model shot in this location before we go to our third and final location and do the rest of the scenes in that third and final location. All right, so this was one of the models that was for one of the artists, and this was in the BP room area. So let's go ahead and briefly run through this color correction process. Let's go to our noise reduction, and let's go ahead and go to the motion blur. Let's go to our white balance and go to our primary wheels, color wheels. Let's go to log with the eyedropper tool, and we're going to click on her white strap right here to set the white balance. And now we're going to go over to our conversion. We're going to add the GH Alex LUT log C, and then we're going to put our ARRI Alexa to log C to Rec 709 LUT. Now let's go to our Luma and look at the waveform, and go to our curves, go to the first bar, and let's bring the blacks down, and let's bring the mids up, and let's bring the highlights up. All right, again, I'm not going to make any adjustments after this luminance was set. So let's go to the skin and set her skin tones. Let's get the qualifier and select it on her skin. And let's select a power window. Let's make this a little bit smaller. And let's go ahead and select the magic wand and bring up our vector scope so you all can see it. I figured it was going to be too far over in the yellows. So let's go over to our color wheel, make sure we're in log, and bring the offset over to the right. And let's get that right about on the line, a little bit hovering to the right of the line. Let's go right about there. Let's turn the magic wand off and X out of this. And let's zoom out and let's turn the power window off. And already that's a huge difference. So this is the before it's correcting the skin tone, which was too yellow, and after. So that's much, much better. So let's go ahead and add those two nodes real quick, which is the face refinement and the beauty. So again, Option S twice. And again, I will check back in with you all once this process is done so you can see the before and after. Okay, so now that the face refinement and the beauty has both been done, let's go ahead and zoom in. Not so much. Let's go right about here. And let's take the beauty off. And let's zoom in under her eyes so you can actually see. So this is off, and then this is on with the beauty. And now it's on. So like I said, it's not a huge difference. It's just a subtle difference. You don't want it to be too overdone. Just like with color grading, you don't want to do too much. Less is more. So you can see that the skin is actually a little bit smoother, but it's not so much to where, again, it doesn't give that porcelain doll look. So the last thing we're going to do is go over to sharpen again, and we're going to go to sharpen, and we're going to bring the radius down to 48. And then again, guys, this is going to be the after product once we've done everything, and this is the before and after, before, after. So let's go ahead and move into the third location, and let's look at one model shot, and then we're going to look at one group shot, and then that'll be everything for this color grading tutorial. So guys, this is going to be the second location, and this is going to be for the third and final artist. So we'll do one more artist, which is this person right here, and then we'll do one more model shot, and then this will conclude the color correction, color grading process for this specific music video. So let's go ahead and go to the noise reduction node, and we're going to go to motion effects and set everything for our noise reduction. Okay, now that we have the noise reduction set, let's go ahead and go to our white balance. Let's go to our white balance node, and we're going to zoom in, and we're going to set the white balance based off of the white on his actual strap. So let's go to the color wheels, make sure we're in log, select the eyedropper tool, and click right on the white, and we're going to zoom back out. And now we're going to add our two LUTs, the GH Alex Log C LUT, and then the Alexa Log C2 Rec 709 LUT. So let's go ahead and click the conversion 1. And now we go to our Luma and bring up our waveform. And we're going to go to our curves. And we're going to bring down the blacks and shadows drastically. Bring it down till it touches that line. Right about there. And now we're going to bring our mids up, and we're going to bring our highlights up. And I moved to a different part of the clip just to see. So let's bring the blacks and shadows up just a tiny bit. Right about there. All right, again, I'm not going to do anything to the correction node, so I'm going to go ahead and set the skin tones now. Let's go over to the skin node and select our skin tone to make sure that's all correct. And let's click the magic wand and get a little bit more of the skin tones. Let's go back out and turn this magic wand off. Let's set our power circle and set it on a spot on our skin tone. And let's turn the magic wand back on and bring up our vector scope. And let's maximize the scope wheel so we can see it better. Let's go over to our color wheels, and let's move our offset around so we can actually see where this skin line indicator is. Okay, let's bring it, it's basically spot on. Bring it to the right a tiny bit, right about there, so it's just to the right of the skin tone line a little bit. Let's go ahead and X out of this and turn our magic wand off and turn the power window off. And now we have our skin tone set. And the last thing again we're going to do is set our sharpening. So let's go to the sharpening node and go over to the blur, and let's bring this down from 50 to 48. And this is going to be everything involved with this scene setup. So this is again the after, before, and after. All right, so let's set up the last shot, which is the model in this same location. This is going to be the last thing that we're doing for the color correction, color grade. So let's go ahead and go over to this next model. All right, guys, so the last color correction, color grading of this music video that we're going to be doing is the same location that we just did for the artist, same scene. We just replaced the artist with the model. So let's go ahead and jump into that. The first thing obviously that we're going to be doing is doing the noise reduction. So let's go through that process real quick. It's the same process that I've done for all of the other clips. All right, now let's go ahead and set our white balance. For this specifically, what I set the white balance because there wasn't an actual point like on the artist had on his strap where you could click on the white lettering. I actually just set the white balance based off of the quasar tube lights. So again, let's go to log and select our eyedropper tool and select the quasar tube. Now from here, the next thing we need to do is obviously add our GH Alex Log C LUT, and then the second conversion is the Alexa Log C2 Rec 709 conversion LUT. Now let's go to our luminance and set our luminance values. Let's go to the curves. We already have our waveform set up. Let's bring the blacks down. It's right about there. And let's bring the mids up just a tiny bit. And let's bring our highlights up just a tiny bit. So from here, we're gonna go to our correction. And what I wanna do with the correction is go over to the color wheels. And I actually want to bring the offset down just a tiny bit, bring the actual everything as a whole down. So I'm going to click on the offset wheel and I'm going to drag this down to the left and put that down to about 23.7. And after I've done the correction, what I'm going to do is move over to the skin tones and make sure that the skin tones are set correctly. So I'm going to go over to skin and we're going to make sure the skin tones are on point. So let's go ahead and click this eyedropper and set the skin tones. Set our skin tones. Let's go ahead and click the magic wand. Let's go ahead and set our power circle. And let's turn the magic wand. And let's make sure we have the vector scope set up. Let's bring this up. Let's go over to our color wheels. And let's see where the line is actually basically right on, but I want to move it over to the right just a tiny bit. And let's put it right about there. Just a subtle difference. Go ahead and X out of this and turn the magic wand off. Let's zoom out and let's turn the power circle off. And what I actually want to do too is I want to come back over to correction and go to our color wheels. And I want to actually add some saturation to this. So I'm going to change the saturation from 50 to 60. And you can see that's added a saturation into our actual skin tone. So this was the before and this is the after. So that's good right there. I want to come back to the luminance and bring the blacks in just a little bit more. Let's go back to our waveform and bring the blacks and shadows down a tiny bit more. All right, let's go ahead and go back to the skin node and let's put our two nodes for the face refinement and the beauty. And again, I will check back in with you all once this process has been completed so you can see the before and after. And guys, now that we've added the face refine and the beauty, what we're gonna do is just go over to the sharpening node and we're gonna make sure that we're in the blur option. And we're gonna come to the radius and we're gonna take the 0.50 down to 0.48. And that is gonna be everything related to this specific clip with this model. Let's go ahead and look at the before and let's check out the after. Again, before and after. So guys, that's going to be everything related to this color correction and color grading breakdown process for this specific music video. Again, the great thing with when you do lighting, if you set up your lighting beforehand in the pre-production process and in the production process, and you have a specific look that you're going for, when you color it and set it up for the lighting, when you go to color it in the editing process, you don't have to do much of a grade because you already have let the lighting do most of your work. So guys, this is going to be the first episode of color grading on Caffeine. If you would like to see more videos like this where I show my color correction and color grading process for recent music videos, do me a favor and like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And of course, if you have not subscribed already to the YouTube channel, do me a favor please and click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all the content that is releasing on this channel. The more people that do subscribe, I'm able to keep doing these kind of videos and content. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, go ahead and like, comment, and share this video if you did enjoy this video, and I will check in with you all guys next video.